this is Arunava Chaudhuri and you are on my YouTube channel Arunfoot. Finally, the Supreme Court of India have pronounced their judgment in regard to the new constitution of the All India Football Federation. And finally, we have something which we can talk about, which we can discuss, and which leaves a lot of questions unanswered. The first thing first, there's been a time frame given that post now the September 19th, that the AIFF within 4 weeks could ratify this constitution and then avoid a potential FIFA ban. 30th October is the last date to sort things out and get things in place. Now, some of the key points to start off with to talk about is that what is, for example, the definition of an office bearer. In the past, it was the president, potentially the secretary, the treasurer. Now, it is also all executive committee members. Now, if the secretary is a paid post, then it is something different. But otherwise, that is now fixed. The second thing is there's a tenure restriction of a maximum of 12 years, which is 3 times 4. 4 years is normally a normal tenure of an executive committee member, of a president, of a potential secretary, or a treasurer. Secretary meaning, again, not a general secretary, but rather an honorary secretary. And age restrictions up to the age of 70 until there are exceptions that you can stay on until the age of 75. And this is also applicable to all potential executive committee members. So these are some of the basics. Now, there is a demand to have an executive committee of 15 members. 25% of that should be sportsperson of outstanding merit, and that is something which has to be defined. And ideally, there is a representation also of 5 women, and 2 out of those 5 players or ex-players should be also women. So theoretically, it could go up to 38% representation of former players. And now we come slowly to what in my opinion are the contentious issues. If the AIFF wants to make any changes, amendments to this constitution, they will either have to take what the Supreme Court calls a leave and permission of the Supreme Court to make those changes. And that, to me, as someone who works in governance, is a red flag. Because that in itself constitutes third-party interference. Simple and plain. So therefore, already this constitution is a violation in itself. And on the other side, the court is saying that not anybody can come forward and have a go at the federation and their constitution. And that is okay. Then the next red flag to me is in regard to the top tier league of the country, or maybe the top tier leagues of the country, which as per the Supreme Court needs to be retained in ownership of the All India Football Federation. Period. That's been said. And they cannot fully divest its role to any third party, which is of course had done to Reliance or IMG Reliance, and then which became later on FSDL in the current or in the former structure of the ISL over the last 11 years. Now, one thing which nobody seems to have told the Supreme Court of India is, again, this is a question of Nageshwar Rao and the amicus and other people who've been advising them with inputs. This is a governance issue. Is the English Premier League solely owned and run by the FA, the Football Association in England, is the German Bundesliga run by the Deutsche Fußballbund, by the DFB, or rather by a private entity body which runs on its own called the Deutsche Fußballliga? Is La Liga owned and run by the Royal Spanish Football Association? Is MLS, which is not even one country, but it's two countries in the sense of the United States and Canada, the teams playing in it, the A-League, other leagues, this point to put into a constitution makes no sense at all. And then they make it even worse because they say the principle of promotion and relegation in Indian football upheld in constitution. You can't. Where is it upheld in the constitution of the USSF in America, or Canadian Soccer Association, or even Liga MX, the Mexican league, has closed, shut down, no promotion or relegation. These are points which are not supposed to be part of your constitution. These should be part of your general rules rather than the statutes of the federation. These are all infringements. And also, the problem is that the Supreme Court says the constitution of the AIFF is similar to that of the BCCI. Not possible, right? Because we know what the relationship of the BCCI and the ICC is. And on the other side, the relation of the AIFF and FIFA. And therefore, there are too many contradictions, and it is worrisome that in 8 years, the Supreme Court of India has not been able to reach out to experts in the topic of governance to explain to them in simple language what are the do's or what are the don'ts. Don't overstep your remit. That you're looking into this case already is already an infringement of the independence of the All India Football Federation. This has not been understood in a case of nearly 8 years. It is a topic I raised in 2022 with the COA, which means that the COA did not pass on this information to the honorable judges who were looking into this matter. The question to me now is, are we important enough for FIFA to look into this? Or will they say, you know what? Thank you very much, Supreme Court of India, but this doesn't work. And that is the problem of what we've seen, especially over the last 6 months, that the Supreme Court have gotten involved in processes which are not their cup of tea. Again, gentlemen, with all due respect, you do not have to look into the whole tendering process of the ISL. And the final thing I want to talk about in this video is that the current AIFF are in a situation that Kalyan Chaubey and the elected executive committee can finish their term until September 2026. That's an interesting one, because one thing which the Supreme Court did right, they did not come forward and intervened in calling an election. So that's a positive one. What do you guys think about this new AIFF constitution? Do you agree with me or disagree with me? If you've got anything else to say, write those things down in the comments below. And as always, like, share, and subscribe Arunfoot here on YouTube. Visit my other social medias, visit arunfoot.com, and I'll be back very soon. So Arunava Chaudhuri signing off. Bye for now.